And we are live. Surf Rider San Diego, final chapter meeting of the year. And it just happens to be right smack dab in the middle of our annual art gala and online auction fundraiser. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our chapter meeting. We thought we'd do something a little different, especially gearing up for 2021, which looks like it's going to be a very virtual year. So we are now Surf Rider SD Live, Central Command Broadcasting Unit. My name's Mitch Silverstein. I'm our chapter manager, and I'm in our office right now by myself because of COVID, and I'm really stoked to be here, and I hope a lot of you are watching. And before we get into some cool videos showing some interviews and recaps of what our volunteers have been up to this year and some of the things they've achieved, and also showing you guys, our volunteers, our members, our supporters, our donors, where that money that you give us goes, I'd like to bring on our executive committee chair, Alex Farron, who is out there in the world camping somewhere right now. Hey,
I
Alex.
am Mitch. Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Where are you?
I am actually just a little bit north of Ventura, camping in the back of a truck, surfing. I'm gonna be really honest. This has been a very crazy month of us prepping for this, and in all of the preparation, I put the gala date wrong in my calendar, so I thought it was yesterday. I wasn't supposed to be camping for it. But
Don't worry, we're used to having technical and calendar difficulties. So
yeah. Speaking of technical difficulties, I think this is a great opportunity to let everybody know that this is our first virtual gala. We are doing the very best we can. There will probably be hiccups and all sorts of kerfuffles along the way, but we appreciate you for bearing with us. This is we're not tech giants. We are ocean conservationists.
Giants. Cool. Well, hey, Alex, I don't want to keep you. I know you got to pitch a tent and go sleep in it and do it in a safe way. So I'm going to let you go, but thanks so much for joining us. And thank you so much for working double extra overtime volunteer hours, putting together these great interviews that we're about to feature and let everyone see right now.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everybody for sticking with us this year. Obviously, it's been a crazy one, and we're so grateful and impressed that you've all shown up virtually and in person on your own to do what we do best, protect and enjoy our ocean waves and beaches. And to you, Mitch, and all of our staff for really, like, everybody who's watching, these folks have really stepped up and done everything they can and more to try to make this year as awesome as possible.
Right back at you and to all our volunteers, because without you guys, what could 2 or 3 staff people really do, right? We need you to keep us working. So thank you so much. All right, so let's get into the videos that you have helped produce. These are not the full videos. They're just 5-minute kind of highlights. But we really wanted to sit down and get intimate with some of our volunteer leaders and also policy staff. And we are going to start in Imperial Beach with Shannon Johnson. This is it, Shannon. We're live on Shower Curtain Radio, TV. So let's start with your name, where you live, and what your role is at Surf Rider.
All right, I'm Shannon Johnson. I live here in Imperial Beach. I've lived here since 2010, and I'm a co-lead for the Clean Border Water Now program.
And where are we right now?
We are at the south end of Seacoast Drive. We're overlooking the estuary on this side, and then right over there is the Pacific Ocean.
COVID and non-COVID, what are really some of the biggest challenges that Clean Border Water Now has faced this year?
Yeah, so one of the major issues that is not COVID related are the dry weather spills that we were experiencing since November. You know, we'd have flow coming across on a daily basis. There was no rain. There was no spills that we knew of. And for whatever reason, the flow was still coming. The beaches were closed for pretty much the whole year up until recently. We couldn't go to the beach. You know, the community is getting upset. They just want action, and nothing was being done. And then finally they put in some infrastructure on the Mexican side, which stopped the flows.
Why do you think it's important that this is a community-led effort?
Because it affects everyone in the community. Like, we have to all band together and say enough is enough. And that's what we have really been trying to push. With COVID, it's been a bit of a problem. You know, a big part of our job as volunteers is to go out into the community, have letter writing drives, talk to people one-on-one. You know, you're in close proximity. With COVID, we haven't been able to do that at all this summer.
What are some of the things you're most proud of with your work on the Clean Border Water Now campaign?
You know, anytime something gets passed that's going to make an improvement that we've been actively involved in, for instance, the USMCA trade agreement, we just secured $300 million towards improvement. We spent all of last year advocating for that, sending in letters. Our policy coordinator and one of the other leads went to DC and heavily advocated for that. And so that's something that we're all very proud of. You know, just getting the community involved. We've done marches for clean water, and to see everybody out and supporting clean water is just, it's amazing.
One thing that's great about Surfrider from a donor perspective is how much bang for buck we can get with our money. And to put that in perspective, you just said about how last year you guys spent so much effort advocating for this federal funding to deal with this issue. We probably spent around $30,000 last year on this program, which includes Gabriella's part-time salary. So $30,000 of expenses to yield $300 million in funding, that's a positive outcome for donors as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
Hey, Gabriella.
Hi, Mitch.
I think most of our viewers are aware that Surfrider Foundation filed a lawsuit against the IBWC for Clean Water Act violations in 2018. Is that right?
It was in 2018.
Yeah, 2018. Kind of based off some of the momentum that came from the 2017 spill. I know lawsuits are very difficult. They take years and years. There's a lot of moving parts. But if we were to really try to condense the point of this lawsuit into a soundbite, what do you think that would sound like?
Well, I think the point of the lawsuit is to require the federal government to address the transboundary pollution issue affecting Imperial Beach and closing our beaches.
Why do you think a Surfrider supporter who lives somewhere like Encinitas or Carlsbad should care about this issue, even if it doesn't touch them quite as personally?
Because there's no barriers or borders in the ocean. We have one ocean that we all share, and this part of the Pacific Ocean is you know, they have chemicals, they have plastics, they have sewage, and you can't stop it from going into other areas. So I think it's important for all of us to really care about what's happening to this part of the world and, you know, stop it.
What are some recent challenges that Clean Border Water Now has faced in 2020?
So in 2020, the pandemic has really put a halt to some of the public meetings that we've been having. So there's been less face time with a lot of the decision makers that we would normally meet with. It hasn't stopped completely, but it's slowed down. So that's been a challenge for the campaign. That's our biggest challenge.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit to the, I guess, record-breaking amount of days that South County beaches have been closed this year and why that is?
The beaches have been closed a record-breaking amount of days this year. By June, we had already surpassed all of the days that we were closed in 2019 entirely. And unfortunately this year, our beaches in South San Diego County have been closed during the summer months, which usually does not happen. So it's been a really incredibly awful year related to water quality. Good news is Imperial Beach will now be tested daily. They started last week. So one of the things that we're looking forward to is really looking at that data to help push more policy, because we should have a test for every single day of the year next year.
What are some of the goals that you and the Clean Border Water Now volunteers and supporters have for next year?
For next year, we have 300 million in USMCA funds, but that's not enough to tackle this issue. In this next year, we're going to try and get the Border Wastewater Infrastructure Program to $75 million, which is usually it toggles between 20 to 30 to 40. So we're going to try and increase that. But we're also going to focus our attention on really getting all of the stakeholders together to come up with one solution that will address the issue. And the EPA right now has taken a lead on it. So the progress is slow, but it's getting there. But we just need to make sure we can take that over to the finish line.
Clean Border Water Now, the campaign, including your salary, is our most expensive program and campaign in San Diego County. What are some of the associated costs? If I was making donations, what is some of that money spent on?
So the funding for the Clean Border Water Now program would go to policy and advocacy for the community, meeting with our elected officials. It would go into the litigation efforts, supporting that, and also outreaching to the community to make sure that the community is aware of what's happening and to help us push the federal and state government. Because up to now, in the last 3 years, they've been really receptive to community letters and input, but they do need that leadership to push them to get those letters out.
JP, what's up, my man? Nice to see you.
Good to see you too, Mitch. How's it going?
Good. Our guy in Oceanside, Beanie Bros. You know how we do. So how about an introduction? Why don't you tell us who you are, maybe where you live, and what your role is within our chapter?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm JP. I live up in Oceanside, and I'm the Climate Change Committee co-lead.
In terms of policy, our Climate Change Committee is kind of similar to our Beach Preservation Committee because they're working on climate change mitigation and prevention, but maybe not quite right on the beach like Beach Pres. What are some of the policy initiatives that you guys are currently working on?
Yeah, so we're kind of in a transition phase, I would say, right now. Last year, our focus was very heavy on community choice energy and climate action plans. So climate action plans are where a city will set out their goals for how they're going to address climate change and also say how aggressive they're going to be in doing so. So what we advocate for is, of course, as aggressive as we can get them to be. So moving towards the 100% renewable energy, getting people out of their cars. And the best way to do that, to transition away from fossil fuels, is through community choice energy, which basically gives us, the community, the power to choose where our energy comes from.
And speaking of community choice energy, what are some accomplishments in that field that you guys have been part of?
Yeah, so last year, 2 joint power authorities were formed in our region, one up here in North County and one down in South County. And those are essentially the organizations that run a community choice energy program. So I believe now we have about 8 cities in the region that are a part of a joint power authority, meaning that now us, the community, can have a say in where our power is coming from, which is really essential in moving us towards 100% renewable energy.
What about this year? What are some of the big moves you've been making in the climate change world?
Our next step is really getting natural gas out of our newly constructed buildings, whether that be residential or commercial. Natural gas is the third largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in our county. And pretty much no one is addressing that at this point. So we're continuing to build fossil fuel infrastructure that will potentially last to the end of the century, when we know we need to live in a carbon-free economy by mid-century. So essentially, we need cities today to commit to building all electric buildings, knowing that our grid will be powered on 100% renewable energy sometime in the near future, so that we can phase out natural gas and how we're heating and cooking and cooling our buildings.
Yeah, I mean, and just recently, you've been great at writing some blogs explaining some of these things on our website, and just recently you worked pretty much were the main author of our new electrification policy statement. So nice job. It shows that everyday surfer dudes like us can write policy papers. What are some of the committee goals moving into 2021?
Yeah, so 2021, we're still going to continue to push for ordinances around electrification. But another thing we've started to ramp up is volunteer work around blue carbon. So essentially using our wetlands that we have here locally to absorb carbon dioxide, take carbon out of the air to effectively offset some of the emissions we're putting into the air as well. So we're partnering with another local group, Wild Coast, and hoping to get people out in the field so we can keep our wetlands working how they're supposed to be.
Let's talk a little bit about Rise Above Plastics, or RAP, as we like to call it. What are some of the things that RAP, bird's eye view, what are some of the things RAP is trying to accomplish?
The biggest one, and it's kind of been a shift, is to city policy with single-use plastic ordinances. The other thing, our projects do pop up. A lot of our RAP meetings, people have great ideas, and if they have the passion to run with them, we support them. So right now, though, it's back to policy. Although the cities were, because of COVID, it's slowed down, but there is some positive movement even during the slowing period.
RAP volunteer activists have been involved or spearheaded, over 10 successful single-use plastic reduction ordinances in San Diego County. What are some of the current policy campaigns that RAP activists are?
We're working with Oceanside, and suddenly, out of the blue, Vista, San Marcos, and Escondido engaged us. So the entire 78 corridor is in some process of creating or trying to get buy-in for single-use plastic ordinances. Chula Vista is working hard towards one, and due to another project where we've got to meet a few mayors, we're engaging National City right now in regards to passing some single-use ordinance language.
Aside from these specific policy campaigns, what are some other kind of ongoing projects and goals that RAP activists have now and going into 2021?
We are working with Caltrans, Sandag, CHP, our waste management companies and landfills in trying to get vehicles to properly cover their loads so it's not blowing out onto our freeways. And then we're also working the effort to get it picked up in a more timely fashion to keep it from getting into our water shed system, which is poor, and everything leads right out to the ocean. We're great at picking it up, but it sure would be nice to get it further upstream and then also to prevent it from getting into the stream at all.
Awesome.
So that's one. We had Derek Wiebeck, who was a volunteer who joined us, and we had some success with plastic bags with the UT and the local little papers that were being thrown out no matter what the weather in a plastic bag. They are now mailing, and we estimate 1 million little plastic bags now are not ending up in our landfill. One of the other projects that's coming up is SB 424 timed out, and it was about the cigarette filter. One of the number one things we pick up on our beaches, it was the elimination of that filter. Well, this committee has started again, and we're getting some traction with some of our local cities to do like Manhattan Beach and Beverly Hills, possibly banning the sales of cigarettes in certain communities. So it's a wonderful, large committee spearheaded by Surfrider with that goal of getting rid of the cigarette butts that we're picking up well too often. Toxic, nasty, dirty. One of my personal pet peeves for my own cleanups.
COVID-19, you mentioned briefly that the pandemic has really been a struggle for a lot of our plastic campaigns. Do you care to expand on that at all?
We rely heavily with data. A lot of our cities want to know, going up the coast, Carlsbad, Oceanside, even the inland ones, know that the stuff that's in their city goes down the rivers and creeks and out to the ocean. So even that coastal data is very important. So right now, since March, since we're not able to do our big beach cleanups, that data's not there. We're having to rely on older data. I know some of it's still coming in with the solo projects being cleaned, and Coastal Cleanup Day, we were able to utilize some of their data. So COVID has really put a damper on collecting data.
Are there any unexpected positive outcomes from the pandemic?
I think it's made it better for people to be able to attend, and we have an open amount of time for anybody who comes can have a say, can have an idea or express an opinion. So it's pretty cool. New and old volunteers, so it's great.
Hey Vicki, how's it going?
Good, thanks, Mitch.
What is your role in the San Diego chapter?
So I am the ocean-friendly restaurant lead. I should say co-lead because I have a co-leader now, Kellen Timmerman. But yeah, we're the leads of the ocean-friendly restaurant for the San Diego chapter of Surfrider.
How's 2020 been for OFR and some of these challenges that you've had to face?
Yeah, it's been a tough year, and when the restaurants closed down in San Diego County back in March, the San Diego chapter as well as Nashville decided that we were going to go silent with the ocean-friendly restaurants because we just didn't want to inundate them with more emails or anything to worry about other than keeping themselves afloat, which I think was a very smart thing to do. Come June, when restaurants were starting to open up a little bit, we started sending out a monthly email to the restaurants, and it was only regarding how we can help as Surfrider chapter promote them or do an article about them in the national newsletter, and also to educate them about reusables, because there was a lot of information out there, incorrect information from the Restaurant Association and other entities saying that reusables were not safe, and that is just not the case. Scientists have shown that reusables are actually sometimes safer than disposable products. So it was just, we weren't lecturing the restaurants, but we were just trying to get them the information so that they could read through it when they had a moment to do so. And that's kind of what we've been doing up until this point. But during this time when our volunteers haven't had much to do and the leads haven't had much to do, it's allowed us to try to come up with other ideas of how we could reduce all this takeout waste. And during COVID, we've had so much takeout waste. It's increased by a lot because everybody is picking it up to go. And so this has led to a new program that we're getting ready to launch that we're very excited about, called the Ocean Friendly To Go program. And it's all about customers being able to use their own reusable containers and bringing it to the restaurant, but not crossing over the counter into the restaurant's kitchen area. So it would be like going to dine in at that restaurant, and there'll be a designated table on the customer side of the counter where they can transfer their food from reusable plates and containers into their own containers. and take it home. So anyway, we're very excited, and we have Gudanya up in Encinitas is going to actually be our pilot restaurant for the program.
Are there any other kind of goals or things on the horizon for OFR, from now through 2021?
Well, we're actually using this new program, the Ocean Friendly To Go program, to reach out to restaurants that aren't ocean-friendly restaurants. So it's completely free, and not only free, but it saves the restaurants money on to-go containers. We're just hoping that we keep the OFRs that we have now, and we hope that they can all stay in business, and we'll do whatever we can to help them do that. And again, like I said, bring on some new restaurants when things kind of get back to somewhat normal.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, have this program in place so that we can reduce to-go containers.
What's your favorite criteria?
My favorite criteria is reusables for dine-in dining only. So if you have a customer that's dining in, you can't bring those little plastic ramekins for ketchup. You can't bring anything that is single use. So other than a napkin, you can use single-use napkins, but the foodware has to be reusable.
Amazing. Do you think we should crack down on napkins?
Yeah, that might be the next step, but we'll wait till things post-COVID get things settled down a little bit.
Awesome. Hey, Allie, nice to see you.
Hey.
Through the curtain, as always.
High
five. So let's start with an introduction. Who are you? What's your role here with our chapter?
Sure, I'm Allie Salonis-Centric, and I'm a co-lead for the Blue Water Task Force.
So, 13 sites, countywide. How do we manage all that?
That's a great question. We have 4 labs that service these 14 sites. 2 of them are located in the South Bay at 2 high schools, Coronado High School and Mar Vista High School in Imperial Beach. And then 1 here at the lab here in this office. And the final one, which we just opened within the last couple of months, is in North County in partnership with Reef in Carlsbad.
I think a really cool part of this program and beneficial to the community is that you've partnered with 2 different high schools and could partner with more high schools in the future. Why do you think it's so important to engage with youth on these water quality issues?
Yeah, I think it's really important to show kids that they have agency and are able to participate in finding solutions for problems that affect their community, and to teach them the value of science and hard work, and to show them that there are people like them that are involved in finding these types of solutions.
So it's been a very unique year with a lot of challenges. How has COVID-19 affected this program?
Sure, so for actually a good while, probably about 3 or 4 months, we couldn't do any sampling at all. So we were completely shut down, had to kind of pivot and figure out a different sort of strategy to engage our volunteers. We focused a lot on content creation and reaching out to different community partners. But thankfully, within the last few months, we've been able to kickstart our sampling program again.
We see this lab here. We got 3 others. This is one of our most expensive programs, not only to buy the labs, but to do testing over and over again. How much does it all cost?
Good question. So an entirely brand new lab, if we were to open one tomorrow, costs around $10,000. But apart from the lab, we have recurring costs that we have to take care of every year. So those can be around $2,000 per lab. If you average out amongst all the different labs, a sample like this costs around $7 to $8.
Got it. Awesome. Looking forward into next year, Are there any particular goals that Blue Water Task Force has, or is it more just keep on trucking?
I haven't even thought about that yet.
Yeah,
This
I know,
year
right?
is still so long. But we're always looking to expand, I think, every year with either the resources that we currently have or seeking new opportunities for partnerships. I think the water quality issues that affect our county are just so different and so unknown to a majority of people that we always have work to do in that sense of like educating people about why it's important, why they should care. So I don't have any concrete plans yet, but I do know that we're gonna kind of buckle down and focus on what it is that we do best.
I want to highlight something that I think was really cool that happened recently. The San Diego County Water Board funded a proposal to look at the Rewild Mission Bay plan as a way to restore wetlands and also buffer against sea level rise in Mission Bay. And Blue Water Task Force's campland water quality data played a huge role in that.
Yeah, we've come to find over the last few years of collecting consistent data in that area that there are, several geographical factors that have led to consistently poor water quality in that region, even during dry weather, which is a really important indicator of overall coastal health. I think people have just been looking at the data points that we've been collecting, and we're able to make the right decisions on where to put that money.
Hey, Kristen.
Hi.
Nice to talk to you in front of the shower curtain.
I know.
What is the Beach Prize Committee? What are you guys working on?
So in terms of the larger picture, we're generally advocating for the restoration of San Diego's coastline to its natural unarmored state. And that's a really, really long-term, big goal. So when it comes down to our, day-to-day, week-to-week, year-to-year activities, it's looking at sand replenishment projects and making sure they're done responsibly. It's fighting against coastal armoring and seawalls, and then also making sure that any new development near the coast is done in a way that's most respectful of the coastal resources.
Would you think it's accurate to say that Beach Pres is a volunteer watchdog for the coast in San Diego?
Yeah, I think it's actually one of the few watchdogs in San Diego that specifically focuses on coastal armoring, seawalls, and coastal development to the level that we do.
How has COVID-19 affected beach preservation's efforts?
I think the one thing that's really highlighted is that when the beaches were shut, it was really a huge impact to everyone in San Diego, and I think it really brought home to us how important it is to have beach access. And with sea level rise, if we continue to armor the coastline at the pace we're doing, there isn't going to be any beach, and it's not like we can just reopen the beaches, once they've all been armored. And that's really kind of emphasized our message about how important beach preservation and beach access is to everyone.
So a lot of beach preservation campaigns, they're really long, they're drawn out, it's years and years before victory. So I know this question is kind of hard, but what are some goals looking into the rest of this year in 2021?
I guess our main goal, which is always our goal, is just to stay steadfast and keep on top of the cities and the Coastal Commission and keep people honest in terms of, obeying the law and the Coastal Act, because that's the only way that we're going to have a beach to enjoy. I think one example of how the things that we work on can take years is that the Coastal Commission tomorrow is actually finally going to close the book on a house that's being built on the bluffs in Encinitas that we started getting involved in back in 2016 in terms of they wanted to build a huge house right on the bluff's edge with a basement and just enormous. And Coastal Commission, we said no, the Coastal Commission said no, they sued, it had to go to the California Supreme Court, and they upheld the Coastal Commission's decision. So it's been, almost 5 years that this battle has been going on, and I think tomorrow it's finally going to get resolved. They can build their house, it's not as big, it's set back a reasonable distance from the bluff, and they could never, ever have a seawall.
And does that set some kind of precedent that could be good for the coast?
And it does set an important precedent that the Coastal Commission can imply conditions, or sorry, the Coastal Commission can apply conditions to a new home that are very clear that that new home could never have a seawall, even though the Coastal Act is pretty clear about that, in our opinion.
Any notable achievements or progress this year that you're particularly proud of?
Well, I mean, we have had some, important victories at the Coastal Commission where they have denied seawall permits where others, the cities have allowed this, or the cities granted the permit to the applicant, but then we appealed it to the Coastal Commission, or it was going to get heard at the Coastal Commission, and then the Coastal Commission did deny that. So that's been important that we continue to be active in terms of opposing those seawall projects, and we have one coming up on Thursday, in fact. So it just keeps on going. It's just a constant onslaught of development that we are pushing back against.
Absolutely. What are some of the costs associated with a successful beach preservation committee?
Well, I think definitely key to our success is having a full-time staff person that can help support our activities. And I know Laura works across the chapters committees, helping everyone, but because beach preservation has so much document review, environmental impact review, technical report review, and the committee is volunteers and we have full-time jobs, so we really need a support person to help us make it through all of these documents and write the letters. I mean, we write letters that are 20 or 30 pages long.
You certainly do.
And we couldn't do it without someone else whose job it is to do that.
Laura Walsh. So, policy coordinator for San Diego County. What does that even mean?
Yeah, I focus on advocacy that protects coastal resources and coastal access. One of the things we spend a lot of time looking at is how we thoughtfully prepare for sea level rise. Our coasts are sort of between a rock and a hard place. We've got a lot of coastal development here in Southern California, and we've also got rising seas. So how do we plan thoughtfully for a future that includes sea level rise? Something I'm really proud of working on with Surfrider is advocating for smart local coastal programs. So those are documents that cities are creating to plan in the coastal zone for a future that includes sea level rise. One of the things we think about is what kind of infrastructure is vulnerable on the coast, whether it's public or private, and how can we decrease those vulnerabilities. So this involves science-based assessments of vulnerabilities and also really practical planning constructs of thinking about how to move this infrastructure. We also try to develop adaptation pathways, so trying to think of what triggers are actually needed for relocation and what a response should look like that includes the community and is equitable.
You work with a lot of volunteers. That's the nature of Surfrider Foundation and really what makes us great, in my opinion. What's that look like, being that you're Surfrider staff, but most of the time you're working with volunteers?
A lot of my work is driven by the concerns of our volunteers. So much of my weekly workload is just a product of what our volunteers have said they're concerned about or interested in, and we end up looking into, because that's the point of this role.
So many of these issues, these big statewide coastal issues, tend to start in San Diego, and the precedent that affects the whole state is often set in San Diego. Do you have any insight as to why that is?
Culturally, San Diego is a beach community. People care a lot about their local beaches, so I think we really have the energy coming from the ground up. Southern California is also just very developed, so we see these kind of like resource and asset-based conflicts maybe first or more intensely than other places might see it.
Why do we focus so much on policy?
I think a lot of us recognize that some of the things we see going wrong at the coast, or some of the things we see really worthwhile to protect at the coast, require management. They require big top-down decisions. And
a lot of the times that's made at the policy level. If we want to really make an impact on plastic, we can't only pick up plastic. We have to really stop the cycle that gets the plastic ending up on our beaches. So policy just has a really big cascading impact on how we actually experience the coast.
How has COVID-19 affected our policy efforts this year, if at all?
Part of advocacy is about being at the table in all kinds of different conversations here at the local level, in different cities, regionally, at the state. And actually, with so much work going virtual, we have this amazing flexibility to be at the table a lot of the time. And I think there is something really equitable about that too, because we've seen a couple volunteers who are able to make meetings and give their public testimony to an item that they might otherwise have been too preoccupied to attend.
What are a couple things that you feel most proud of achieving or being part of?
I'm most proud of decisions made by the California Coastal Commission that Surfrider has really influenced. We've spoken on behalf of the chapter about quite a few permits for residences in North County, San Diego, that would have set a really bad precedent for armoring our beaches. So San Diego has 70 miles of coastline, and if we sign away the rights to just daisy chain seawall armor the whole coast, we won't have any beaches because of the erosion that seawalls cause. And I think seawalls also just have other negative effects, like do we really want to see our whole coastline lined with seawalls? So I think our seawall advocacy is something I'm really proud of.
And we're back. I hope that you guys enjoyed those videos as much as I enjoyed playing interviewer guy on them. It was really great. We are now going to move on to get a little more personal with a few of the artists that are featured in the Gala auction. Gala, not sure. And obviously there's a lot of great artists who donated, over 80 this year. I'd love to chat with them all, but we just have time to chat with a few. I'm going to bring on a great artist based in North County named Marissa Quinn. A lot of you probably have already heard of her. Maybe follow her on Instagram like I do. She's artsy, she's surfy, she's cool, and we're going to bring her in right about now. Hey, Marissa.
Hey.
Let me see if I can share my screen here to bring up some cool examples of the art that you have available. Look, it's working. So thanks so much for taking a few moments out of your evening to join us. I thought I'd just ask, kind of tell us about yourself and maybe what kind of inspires you to draw these really cool kind of intricate fantasy things that you do.
Well, my name is Marissa Quinn. I've been a full-time artist for about 5 years now. I got my BFA, which is a bachelor's in fine art, and my master's in fine art from Azusa Pacific University in LA. And so I was there doing art school for like 7 years, came back down here, decided I didn't like LA, and I'm from here. And once I got back here to my roots, I took all of my knowledge from grad school, which was a lot of research in environmentalism, but then learning how to turn it into a story, a visual story, so that people who look at my work can see an environmental issue, but laid out in either a whimsical way or a dreamscape way, in a way that is like digestible and not too intimidating. And when I got back home here to the ocean, that's when I really started getting involved with the research on our coastlines and illustrating kind of the environmental issues going on here, but again, in a way that was different from a scientific illustration, adding some surrealism into it and turning it into more of a, I guess, fine art piece, but also educational at the same time. So it's a little bit about what I do. I also am an adjunct professor at Point Loma Nazarene University, and I'm down there teaching art. So yeah,
cool. Right at Point Loma Nazarene, right on Sunset Cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you know, one thing I really like about your art is I see like this kind of, there's a lot of like cyclical kind of life, death, rebirth thing going on.
Yeah.
Tell me about that a little bit.
Totally. So it kind of goes along with like a little bit of spirituality too. I try to incorporate all these different fields into my work, whether it's like incorporating science, dreams, spirituality. And I just love the idea of the circle because obviously the circle of life. But something I realized in grad school after talking to ornithologists in Canada, and then also people from Surfrider telling me about different things going on the coastline, I realized that everything on our planet is absolutely connected. So even if we don't realize that like the exhale of a whale is also connected to maybe the flight pattern of a honeybee, in a really abstract way, we all actually are really connected. And so I'm right now extremely obsessed with turning my compositions into either a circle or actually incorporating a gold circle into them. And that's also kind of a spiritual way of looking at the world too. If you think of it as we are all one, that can be like a loving kindness practice and hopefully making you a better person too. If you really do walk around the world thinking like, wherever I step, I'm sharing it with something. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I really love that. That's so cool. And thanks for allowing us to feature your pieces at our auction. For everyone watching or who's going to watch later, you can see there's a link to the auction or donate right on the YouTube or Facebook. So Marissa, thank you so much. I hope people score some of your amazing work. And we're actually gonna talk to another artist now. But thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Let me get caught up with some technical here. We're gonna bring on Taylor Gallegos, also known as Taylor G, which I learned the other day when I met him in downtown. Let's bring him in. Taylor, what is going on, my man?
How you doing?
Oh, I'm great. I'm gonna give me a sec. You're seeing my computer screen. I want to bring up some of your cool art. So where are you? It's obviously daytime where you are, and you looks like at the beach.
It's daytime. I'm in Honolulu, and I'm about to go surfing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm out here for a little surf trip. Happy to be checking in with you guys.
Yeah. So so I met you while you were doing a mural. I think Marissa does murals too. You guys are kind of eco artists. Eco artists. Do you think that's a good? Do you like that word, or is that a bad thing to say?
No, I think that's great. That's definitely an intention of my work, is to help people connect with the environment through art and bring that to reality that we are all connected. I mean, I love what Marissa said, and a lot of what she said could definitely be applied to my approach and my thought pattern too.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, I'm not an art specialist. I wouldn't say that your stuff is more abstract than hers, but it's a little more. It's definitely more painting. So, what are your kind of favorite mediums, and what when you make art?
Yeah, I love to draw. My background, I got a bachelor's in fine arts, and I went down both paths of drawing and painting, which are actually separate. And so I like to use both, but yeah, these are all oil paintings. I love oil paint, just the way that it mixes and blends, and you can get such bold color. Yeah, I mean, I guess like abstraction, surrealism, it's all kind of like my art kind of blends across all of those realms.
Awesome, man. Well, I don't want to keep you on too long. I know you're about to go surf. Maybe sunset's coming. But you mentioned something to me when I met you in person about, I don't know, can you see the art that I'm showing of yours on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned some meaning behind that little circle that on these pieces. Could you mind telling everyone about that? I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, well, it's really cool that Marissa was talking about the gold circle in her work, because this is something I've been doing recently, is putting this circle into the pieces, and basically outside of that circle, it's black and white, or the image is faded, and then inside the circle, it's in color, and the image is real sharp and brought to life. So the idea is that we have an option on this planet. As humans, we are really in charge of what's going on, and we're the stewards of nature, and it's up to us. Do we want to have a world with no life, or do we want to have a world with life, like whales? You can't you can't bring things back from extinction. And so what this piece is saying is, like, inside this circle where we can like keep things alive, we can have this beautiful existence with these amazing creatures, and outside of it, well, we can do that too. So it's really up to us. I mean, I want to make my work speak about these issues, but I don't want it to be like graphic, so it's some more conceptual, and that's where these are going.
Cool, man. Well, I love them. Thank you so much for joining us. Your art really inspires me personally, so really appreciate it. Have a good surf session.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too. All right. And now we're going to bring on Jen Phillips, curator and I believe owner for a gallery called Gracie Lane, which represents some of these great artists. Hey, Jen, are you with me?
I am with you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, totally. So you're going to be our last guest, and I'm bringing up some art. So tell me, what are we looking at here? This is Luis Garzon Masabo. Is that correct?
That's correct. And, we've been talking all night about, eco cause, eco artists, and right with Marissa and Taylor Gallegos, we have Luis Garzon Masabo, who is based in Tijuana, Mexico. And I'm here because we lost our translator, and I would have loved to have him, but he does not speak English. And so I hope he forgives me that I'm speaking on his behalf. But Luis lives and breathes what we're talking about, the conservation and preservation of the ocean. He is in Tijuana. He is a activist, a very strong activist in art and socially for helping the water improve in Tijuana. He sees this Tijuana River every day. And a lot of the pieces in his art is focused on really making the water and the environment better. Each and every one of his pieces is all about that. And, for him, art in nature, art in society, art in community, this is what he identifies with. And for Surfrider and what your mission is, he is so along, philosophically speaking, in alliance with what your mission is. He lives this on a daily basis. He's on the other side of the border and from us, but like what was mentioned earlier, we share the water. It is a mutual responsibility for all of us worldwide to take care of our environment. And here he is in Tijuana. This was just a few weeks ago when I picked up the pieces from him. And they're not allowed to cross the border, so we went down and picked up the pieces. And really, if you want to support Surfrider, these eco artists, they are it. They are here to help support, and every single purchase that you do goes to help what Surfrider's mission is. And Luis Garzon Masabo, and all of the other artists that have donated, it's just an amazing cause, an amazing thing for these artists to do to support.
Awesome, Jen. Well, I don't even have any more questions for you because you just laid it out for everyone. Appreciate that. Thanks so much for connecting us with these great artists, and really thank you to all the artists who submitted. One thing that's really great about this year's online auction is that we've got pieces from all different price ranges, stuff that, is great for kids just graduating college, but also stuff that's great for, more established collectors out there. So I really hope everyone finds something that they love. And thanks, Jen. I really appreciate it. I think I'm just going to do one more little, sorry, how do I kick you? How do I politely kick you out? Oh, here we go. Sorry. All right, so there's one more I want to show, one more artist that I want to show off just for fun, because it's very Surfrider to me. What's that? Okay, there we go. So this is Zach Voigt, lives in PB, between PB and Hawaii. He couldn't join us tonight, but I just thought it was so unique and cool that I'm going to just speak about it for him. If you guys may follow Surfrider or Vizsla, the wetsuit company, they do every year a Surfrider Wisla upcycled contest to see who can make the coolest surf craft out of 100% upcycled materials. And Zach was a finalist. He made this cool mini Simmons surfboard out of a buckled longboard, so recycling, reusing the foam, reshaping it, and then glass on fins that were reused as well, and then a bunch of cork to create structural integrity around the rails, and also a little cork tail pad. So that one's out. That one's on there too. The current bid is $650, but this is really a priceless item. It's one of a kind, just like a lot of great art that is featured. So just wanted to throw that out there because that one just got me kind of stoked. All right, let me see if I can finish this. Stop my screen share here. And then, of course, Changing at the Office, a couple other great pieces. This one, I believe it's called Low Tide by Will Rubion. We've been getting a lot of questions about this, people wanting me to send them more photos and stuff, so you kind of see what it looks like. And then, of course, a longtime Gala supporter, Elizabeth Sullivan, with some really another kind of more whimsical piece, but that's also showing the effects of sea level rise. Luckily, the giraffe has a big neck. So yeah, that's about all we got. I'm really stoked that everyone came out. I'm happy that we're going to have this on our YouTube so people can watch it as well. Just a quick final appeal. I'm going to share actually the scoreboard with you if I can. By the way, this is our new thing, this broadcasting. So we're going to be really good at it by next year. That's my guarantee. All right. Show you guys just the scoreboard of where we are at with our committed Gala, with the committed donations and bids. We're just under 7,000. What we're trying to do is reach 15,000. That is not a huge goal for us compared to last year. As an example, our last year's Gala, which was the normal Surfrider Art Gala in person, we raised $50,000, and we're really lucky that we did because it helped propel us through this year, which has obviously been a much harder year, not only for nonprofits, but for so many of us out there. So my final appeal is just basically, it's a 3-point appeal. One, check out the Gala if you haven't. You've got all weekend. It ends Monday at 3 p.m. So I'm hoping to see lots of great bids. Bid on anything you can. All the money goes to us. It all stays in San Diego County, and it's going to fuel and propel our program budgets for all those volunteers who are leading those programs that you saw interviewed before. And then second appeal, maybe bidding or art might not be everyone's thing. There's also a link on this live cast that you can just make a direct cash donation. That works too. That gets us closer to our goal of 15,000. So if you're not into the whole bidding, maybe just consider an end of year donation in cash to us. We'd really appreciate that. And then point number 3, and this one is for everyone who's bidding, but suddenly gets outbid at the last second on Monday. If you are about to spend $500 or $1,000 or $1,500 on a beautiful piece of art, but someone snakes it from you and you get outbid, and now you're spending $0, I would just encourage you to please consider donating that amount or part of it as an end-of-year donation to our chapter. It would mean everything to us. We really want to keep our budgets healthy in 2021, and we can't do it without you guys. So with that, I'm going to conclude the chapter meeting. I appreciate from the bottom of my heart all of the artists who submitted, all of the volunteers who helped work on this, all of our volunteers who lead our programs, and the core volunteers who help them, and of course, all of our supporters, donors, members, and everyone else who takes a stand for our ocean and wants to protect it. So thank you guys so much. Signing out, Surfrider SD.